friends, 2 time zones, and a shared love of stories.
I'm Freya.
And I'm Jamie.
Bridging time zones 1 chapter at a time.
Welcome to Once Upon a Time Zone. Hello everyone, welcome back to Once Upon a Time Zone. Today, we are actually going to talk about some books that we loved, that Freya and I loved, but the world maybe didn't love so much. And we're gonna kind of go through why like other people or most people didn't like these books, and then I'm gonna try and like rebut those and be like, well, that's wrong. That's the concept of today's episode. I'm excited to get into it. It's kind of funny whenever I disagree with most of the world, because I find usually my book opinions align with the general public. Like, I'm not that unique, but then once in a while, I will read these books that I love, and then I'll check Goodreads or something, and I'll see the actual rating of it, and I'll be like, actually really surprised at how low the rating is. And I'm like, how do people not like this?
I feel like it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I've read a book out of spite. Everyone's hated it, and I've been like, oh, whatever, I'll just give it a go. It's been on my TBR or something. And I get so confused when I start enjoying it, and I'm like, why was everyone hating on this book?
It's always a nice surprise. But first of all, what are you currently reading?
I thought you might be happy about this one. I am currently reading Us Against You by Fredrik. Now, I will say I'm only a few chapters in. I've already, like, my eyes have, like, watered just because everything from Beartown just came rushing back to me. Yes. And I was just like, oh my God, you poor characters, you poor characters. So for you guys who don't know, this is the second book to Beartown. It is a trilogy, so I am halfway through. And Fredrik Backman he knows how to shatter your heart in the most plain way. He will just state something and I will be broken. And it's like he just doesn't realize what he's doing or something. He's just saying it as it is. And I was like, there was no padding around that. You just really delivered it full on.
Yeah, he does not soften the edges. He just gives it straight to you. Who's your favorite character in the world?
I don't even know. I don't think I'm going to know until the end of this book, because in Beartown, I truly remember taking such a long time to remember all our characters, and the fact that like you're constantly switching point of views, but it doesn't actually state that you're switching point of views. It's just like, oh, we're following this character now. So I feel like in Beartown, I remember I zoned out for like 1 second, and then I came back and I was like, who are we following? So for this one, I'm taking it a lot slower. I've kind of been reading other books in between, because I started listening to it on audiobook, and I was like, this is just not going to be it. Like, I cannot keep track on audiobook. I'm zoning out. I need to just be in the moment reading this one. So I will report back to you on that. But I feel like I have a lot of conflicting feelings for a lot of our characters. Like, I love a lot of them, but then some of them I also, one in particular, I just want to, makes me angry.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point. Like, you're not supposed to love everyone, but it's just kind of looking at the whole town or the whole situation.
It's such a good depiction of like small town vibes, honestly, and just the divide that gets created when something happens. He's an incredible author. I'm just gonna I get very passionate about it.
Yeah, every time someone brings up Fredrik Backman, like just the name, I'm like, like my emotions just come like raging up.
What are you currently reading?
Okay, so I was actually going into recording today's episode. I was gonna make you guess what I was currently reading, but then I realized I just posted it on Instagram, and then you found out. So
I do in fact follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, you did see me post it. But I'm reading Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson.
You're so brave.
Of the Starlight Archive. I know. I've been tackling one Brandon Sanderson a month for the past 3 months.
That's a very good, because I was about to say in my text to you, oh my God, that's so soon that you're reading it. And I was like, wait, we read Way of Kings like 2 months ago. I was like, that is crazy. That is way too long ago. What? And I was like, damn, I have to pick it up soon.
Yeah. So it was Way of Kings. I guess that was, hold on, I have to count back. July. That was July. And then Warbreaker was August. And then Words of Radiance is now. No.
No, wait,
Hold
you're
on.
a month. You're a month.
A month early. Way of Kings was August. Warbreaker was September. Words of Radiance, October. Oathbreaker, November? No. I feel like I'm going to have to take a break after this one just because we're going to be starting to prep for Bookmas and stuff. And like, so November's going to start feeling that craze. So I feel like I can't read such a long book in November. So
yeah. And Oathbreaker is so big. But I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on Words of Radiance because so many of you guys have told us that Words of Radiance is like the best Brandon Sanderson book out there. Like one of your favorites of all time. So I'm like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I'm nervous and excited.
And speaking of like the topic of today's episode being books that we loved and the world hated, Words of Radiance is a book that the world loved. Like it is the highest rated book on Goodreads ever, which is absolutely insane. So
if you don't rate it a 5-star, I will be so curious as to why. Because I feel like Way of Kings was pretty close for you. It was like a pretty good rating. Yeah. And I think all of your problems with Way of Kings could easily just fall to the background in Words of Radiance because, things. Technically, you'd think that we were already in the world enough after reading an 1,000-page book so he doesn't have to explain the magic system over and over.
Okay, so I have been reading it for 5 days so far. Surprise.
Wait, what?
So I'm on page... I know. I just posted it on Instagram today, but like Instagram lives in the past, you know what I mean? Sometimes.
It does.
So I'm on page like 800 and something.
Okay, so like you're literally almost finished it. Okay. I may have to debrief you after this episode.
There's 1,300 pages in my copy, so I'm not really like at the end of it. But I do feel like I'm getting to the peak of it. Like things are starting to crash and burn at this point, which is so exciting.
Can we have like a it's amazing, it's okay, it's
so far it's very, very good. I just read a chapter and I will have to say that this specific chapter is the best fight scene I have ever read in my entire life. Like ever.
Wow, and you've read a lot of fight scenes.
I've read a lot of fight scenes, but there was something about this one in particular. Like I was zoned in. I was like,
okay,
no distractions. Like I am here. The way it was told, the way it was paced, the way things, oh my gosh. It was so good.
That is so exciting. Oh my gosh. It makes me so excited too. You're just like my little inspiration for reading books these days. You just influence all my reads.
I love being that for you. Speaking of influencing each other's book reads, I think we've both bought books recently that were kind of influenced by each other. So do you want to share with the class what you've bought recently?
So I feel like my followers were so happy with these purchases. I bought The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. I had people screaming in the comments being like, about time. And I was like, I know.
Including me. I was also screaming in the comments. I was one of them.
And then I also bought Project Hail Mary, which I am very excited to start soon. Hang on. I have my little stack. Yeah, I think they were the main books that you influenced. And then on my TBR, that was very influenced by you this month. We have like Will of the Many, everything like that. Actually, I've got Diabound as well, just because you said it wasn't awful. So I'm like, okay, I'll give it a go. And then we've also, I bought Alchemised as well. I think you did as well, but that's just like new releases, obviously.
That's just us being influenced by the world around us.
Oh, 100%. Like I don't think I've ever been so influenced to read a book before. I feel very powerless right now. What did you purchase?
So I also bought Alchemised, yes. And then I bought Silvercloak. So you convinced me to read that one.
I'm so excited.
And I tried to buy The Raven Scholar, but for some reason I went to 2 different bookstores and it wasn't there, which was really surprising because the first bookstore I went to is probably I would say one of the biggest indigos in Toronto. And I was like, why don't they have it? Yeah, very strange. And then I went to a smaller bookstore, Hopeless Romantic, and I had a suspicion they wouldn't have it because they tend to focus more on romance and romantasy, and the Raven Scholar is more fantasy. So they didn't have it, but they're always very nice to me, and they're like, well, we can like specially order it for you if you want. So I ordered it. So it's on its way. So technically I bought it. I just don't have it yet. Yeah, those are 2 books that you've inspired me to read. So thank you.
I feel so proud.
Yeah, you did it.
All right, should we get on to the content of today?
Let's do it. Who has the bigger list today?
I think you do. I agree with some of yours as well. So we can
Oh yeah,
do
we'll
a little
piggyback.
Combined. Well, we'll do a combined argument as to why you should actually read these books and why the ratings are wrong.
Deal. Okay. So my first book that I loved, but everyone else hated. Well, not everyone else, but a lot of people, there were mixed opinions on this one. But that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. So I rated this a 4.75 and Goodreads rated it a 3.73, which to me, I don't know about you, but whenever I see a rating that's under 4 stars, that looks low to me, like an average rating of under 4 stars.
And especially if it's like just 3 stars, like no points or anything, to me, that's really low as a rating. And some of them I know just have that. So I'm quite surprised by that one because I feel like maybe it's because of you, but I feel like I've been on the positive side of it where I've seen a lot of really good reviews. So yeah, what were the bad reviews? What are people, first of all, like what is it about? But obviously, I'm curious to know.
Baby steps. So this one, if you don't know what Yellowface is about, it is a contemporary fiction, I would say, kind of genre bending, but it's basically about 2 authors. We follow one as our protagonist, but we have Athena, who is this literary darling, like very successful rising author, and we have June, who is actually our protagonist, and June is a nobody. June, in kind of this bizarre freak accident, witnesses Athena's death, and she finds an unpublished manuscript, like in her apartment, steals it, and then publishes it under her own name. It's this really insane story. There's a lot of critique on the publishing industry as a whole. There's a lot of critique on, June kind of hides her identity and poses as someone who is maybe Asian, which is like a big theme in this book because June's not Asian, but Athena is. So she she changes her name to sound a little bit more like ethnically
Appropriate?
Words? What am I trying to say? Do you, for some reason, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
ambiguous, ethnically ambiguous, like, so you can't tell like really what she is. So yeah, it's this really, really insane but really good story to me. And the reason why a lot of people didn't love this book is because they didn't like June and they didn't like her narrative voice because we were in her head the entire time. This book, I'm pretty sure, is written in first person from what I can remember. I read it a couple of years ago, but we are like really, really deep in her head. And so a lot of people were saying it was difficult for them to be in her head the entire time because the thoughts she has are genuinely very like bad thoughts to have, like bad person thoughts. And so I can see how that's difficult, but it's, for me, like, it's not the type of book where you're supposed to like June. It's the type of book where you're really not supposed to like her, but you're just following along the story in this, unique POV. So I enjoyed the fact that we were seeing her. And I think R.F. Kuang does this a lot in her books where her protagonists are never really like perfect characters. And she does that really, really well, like unlikable characters. June is definitely like probably her worst unlikable character. But I don't know. I thought the point was to not like June. So I liked this book.
I think from what I'm gathering, it seems like it's very much like a character study as well. And I think that can often like deter people. And I mean, we've talked about this so many times, like R.F. Kuang, she's just like a genre hopper. Like she does such different books.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you read like The Poppy War and then saw that this was written by R.F. Kuang, maybe you'd have like, I don't know, a particular type of book you're expecting. And maybe it's not what they were expecting. I don't know.
The weird thing is, I think more people have read Yellowface than any of her other books. I think when I was looking on Goodreads, Yellowface is her book that blew up, that became more very mainstream popular. I think so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like when you look up R.F. Kuang, like you know how Goodreads sorts, like under the author profiles, it sorts under like how many reads or ratings? Yellowface is at the top of R.F. Kuang's list.
That is crazy.
Last time I checked. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, a lot of people just jumped into R of Kuang at Yellowface. It's definitely an easy entry point into her books. For me, it was the easiest to read in terms of writing style, accessibility. You're in the real world, so you don't have to do a whole bunch of world building and stuff. Very mixed opinions on this one, but I really, really enjoyed it.
That's like, I'm glad you did, because I've like, it's kind of just been one that's always tempted me a little bit, but I've just never felt like super drawn to it, because you're right. It's a very, I don't know, it's a very kind of unique premise. And I've never...
It's a strange book.
Like,
yeah.
And so I've kind of always been like, I feel like you've got to be in the mood, or it's just got to be your kind of genre that you enjoy.
Yeah. What's yours?
So this one's a little bit random, but it is Siege and Storm by Lee Bardugo. So this is the second book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. The reason I put this one here is because it was actually my favorite of the trilogy, and I feel like that is such an unpopular opinion. So basically, if you didn't know, Shadow and Bone trilogy, we are following Alina, and she is originally a cartographer. That's right? Like studying maps, or like creating maps. And this world has like elemental magic. It's actually the first series in the Grishaverse. We always recommend reading Shadow and Bone before you go into like Six of Crows or something like that. And it's like, so the Grishaverse as a whole, one of my favorite YA universes, I guess you would say. And Siege and Storm, I feel like the main critiques, and look, my rating was, from memory, I read it years ago as well, was a 4.25, and Goodreads is a 3.8. So it's not awful, but again, it's a very, very popular series. Lots of people have read it, and I feel like whenever I talk about it, on a TikTok especially, the comments are just like, you liked, like, that was your favorite book? I'm so confused. Like, did we read the same book? I'm like, I thought so. So a lot of people I've seen, number one, just don't like Alina as a main protagonist, which I kind of get. Like, she's not the worst I've read. She definitely, like, I think in this one particular, makes a few choices that I remember getting a little bit cross at. And I feel like there was definitely a little bit more of a love triangle introduced in this one as well. And I think a lot of people who were a Darkling stan didn't like this book for that reason. Because I've always been like a Mal and Alina fan though. So I think that's probably why I leaned towards it a little bit more. Yeah. And just saying like the plot's super slow. It's just very much like a middle book, a bridging kind of book. I don't exactly know why I loved it so much, but I think I really liked the integration of like mythical creatures in this. I was just kind of more in the world, so I already knew the whole magic system, everything like that. And I don't know, I just had a really fun time with this one. I love Mal as a character as well. I think that's another unpopular opinion, but I really liked him when I was reading it.
I thought it was great. What's wrong with Mal? Wait.
I know, that's what I think. I don't understand the Darkling side of things. Like, it's one of those like, love triangles where I'm like, I don't understand.
I think it's like if people are reading it today, like...
Yeah, that's true.
People, like, everyone's influenced by the books that are popular today, where we have shadow daddies as always the love interest. And so when you're reading something and someone has, like, similar characteristics...
tendencies.
Then it's like, ooh, I like you. But then you might not actually like that character. You just kind of like what that character represents in other books. Yeah. And it's reminding you of other shadow daddies that you do love and that are supposed to be the love interest. So,
I think that is such a great way of describing it. And especially because this is like a YA series. I didn't look at the Darkling like that. I was just like, you were evil.
You were just literally like, the villain.
Yeah, literally.
Not in like an enticing way, like in a villain way.
I think there's a big difference in like YA villains and adult, because I feel like in adult fantasies they often are more, you can like morally grey in a way, like you can kind of understand where they're coming from almost, but this guy was just power hungry. I was like, you're just annoying.
I think it was like at first you had hope for him, but then the more he did, it's like, okay, you can't be redeemed at this point. Like, we need to give you up. Like, you're too far gone. But maybe some people just cling on to it for longer because they saw that little glimmer of hope or something.
Yeah, that is kind of like the main critiques I've seen of it. But yeah, that is my first one.
Okay, my next one is actually on Taylor Jenkins Reid's sort of backlist, I would say. So it's Forever Interrupted. My rating was a 4-star for this one. I thought this was a solid read, but on Goodreads it's a 3.64, which is so low. This one is I don't even, it's hard to categorize Taylor Jenkins Reid books because I genuinely don't, I wouldn't call this a romance. There is a romantic subplot, I would say.
Yeah.
But this book is about Elsie. So Elsie and Ben have just eloped at the beginning of the story. But 9 days later, Ben goes out on a bike ride to pick up cereal for her. And while he's out, is hit by a truck and killed on impact. We follow Elsie as she goes on this grieving process, this healing process. She also gets to know his side of the family, especially his mother-in-law, because their, I guess, kind of backstory for their romance was that they had this really, really quick whirlwind romance and they got married super quick, and she never met anyone in his family, never met his mother or anything. So she's now trying to get acquainted with his family while also grieving his death. So lots of layered things going on. What a lot of people didn't like about this one is I saw reviews of people saying they thought Ben, the dead husband, was annoying. And I was like, oh.
Wait, but he was hardly in it.
I know! Which was like, how is he annoying? He didn't do anything.
I am on the exact same side as you. Like, I loved this book a lot more than other people.
Yeah, and the parts that he was in it, I feel like he wasn't annoying. Like, he was very sunshine. Like, he was very charismatic and very, like, he knew what he wanted. Like, he knew he wanted her, so he went out and got it. And maybe people don't like that, but I thought he was great. People also said this was insta-love, which it was, but that's not the point of the story.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm like, this wasn't a romance to me. It was like, okay, you see them fall in love really, really quick, but the story's not about the romance. The story's about her and what she went through.
100%. I feel like this was one of the best, like, again, because I feel like you wouldn't go so far to say that it's a deep book, but exploring grief on a, I don't know, like a base level in a way, because it wasn't like it didn't go that
approachable level.
Deep into. Yeah, digestible. I really, really liked it for that reason, because I feel like, especially recently, I've had more appreciation for it because I've read a lot of books that do explore grief. Like, somebody loses someone very early on in the book and they explore it, and I just have not liked it. I was just like, this is, it's done very insensitive, and it doesn't feel real. But I feel like this one, the character, like, you could kind of go through the emotions with the main protagonist, and
yeah,
I don't know.
And it was also,
I mean, I do think credit to Taylor Jenkins Reid and her writing, to be honest, but
yeah, it was also just unique to me, I think, because of how they got together so quick. And so she was not only struggling with losing him, but also struggling with, like, the fact that she didn't have that much time with him. And that was something very different, I think, compared to other books that revolve around this, where it's like, you've known that person for so long and then you've lost them, and then that's a whole other, type of pain. But then with Elsie, she was like, I know I've only known him for this long, but he's impacted me so deeply in such a quick amount of time. Like, you're still allowed to grieve.
I'm quite shocked by the rating, honestly, because there's not a lot that I could, like, seriously fault. At the end of the day, it's a short kind of, I don't know, not a romance, contemporary fiction. Maybe. Yeah, just fiction. I don't really understand the actual, like, hate towards it. Reading bad Goodreads reviews of your favorite books, by the way, is like another level of pain. Because when I was like going, like, researching some of these, and I was seeing people be like, this was the worst book I ever read, and things like that, I was just like, I took it so personally, and I was like, I would never, oh my God.
How dare this person insult me directly?
I was like, don't know I exist. And like, and I feel like on Goodreads as well, for some reason, I sometimes have to search for the good reviews. Sometimes the bad reviews, I think probably they're the most liked or replied to or something. Yeah. But I always struggle to find where I can trust my reviews, which is, I feel like, why I get recommendations from, like, you or a lot of other booktubers that I follow, because I'm like, I can see your process in reviewing this and reading this.
Yeah, I feel like I genuinely need to stop looking at Goodreads ratings. Yeah. Like, even the overall number, like, all the books we talk about today are an example, but yeah, I need to stop being influenced by that.
Yeah.
But what is your next one?
My next one, this one actually really surprised me, is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. My rating was a 4.25 again, and Goodreads was a 3.65. That actually shocked me a lot. Yeah.
That is surprising.
So in Masters of Death, it's a standalone, and it's like magical realism, I would say. So magical elements on like a realistic world. We're following the godson of death. We're following a multitude of characters, actually. We are also following a character who is a real estate agent, but she's also a vampire. And she is trying to sell this house, but she has a ghost problem in the house, and the ghost won't leave this house so she can sell it. So it's kind of funny because I feel like it's very ordinary settings and like environments, and the plot is very simple, but we just have these magical creatures or, you know, magical personalities, I guess. Which I really liked. Like, I love magical realism, and Olivia Blake's writing, one of my favorite authors, to be honest. Her writing is so lyrical, but also so easy to read, and I feel like that's a really fine balance. It's hard to find lyrical writing that isn't using all your brain power, and you can't, like, you know, you have to almost like understand all the metaphors of the writing and everything like that. But she just writes in such a beautiful way. But yes, then I started looking at the comments because I was genuinely like, why is this so low rated? And a lot of people said it was super slow moving, which I do understand. But then again, it's also a really little book. I think it's 350 pages or something. It's not a big book. So anyway, lots of people saying it was like slow moving, little action, and the characters were super unlikable as well. Which, I don't know, I actually really liked every single one of our characters.
I like them all.
I was just kind of reading this going like, okay, but like I can't agree with you. I'm so sorry. Because I didn't find it boring. Yes, it had little action, but I wasn't really expecting an action-packed. I mean, with Olivia Blake, I don't think I haven't continued the Atlas 6, so maybe that gets more action-packed, but all of her books I read, they're not really action-packed. They're very, like, character studies, world building, like, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure where this comes from.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
an
certainly
interesting
can't agree.
one. I do think, like, Olivia Blake can go one of two ways. Like, you really have to be in the mood for Olivia Blake to read an Olivia Blake. Like, you can't just pick it up on a whim. You have to really mood read her, I think, because she has such flowery writing. It's like, if you're not in the mood for that at all, like, you will hate her books. But if you're like, I want to slow down, I want to kind of just read pretty writing, like, look at nice sentences, then you would love her books. So I can only see this.
I feel like there's a few authors like that, whether you're either going to like absolutely love them and they're going to be like instantly one of your new, you know, favorites, or just have a lot of appreciation for them, or they're just not going to be for you. And I feel like if you did pick up Masters of Death as your first Olivia Blake book and you weren't really aware of how she wrote, you probably would be quite bored, to be honest. Like, if you picked this up expecting a fantasy or a fantasy romance, I don't even know how you would classify this book. Like, I wouldn't say it's either of them. It's like magical realism is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. What would you say is the best starting place for her books?
That's a good question. I haven't read all of them. Like, I haven't read, I can't think of the name directly, but it's like something in the ether.
Oh, Alone with You in the Ether?
Alone, yeah. So I haven't read that one yet, which I've seen very mixed opinions on. The first book I read, I think, was One for My Enemy. And
I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah, to me that was like a good starting point. I feel like it was a really good balance of like, you know, I don't know, kind of Atlas 6 and Masters of Death. Like, it was very lyrical, but also there was a little bit, like, it was pretty plot driven.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like one of her more plotty books. And also it's just like a fun like setup because it's kind of Romeo and Juliet-y, which is always like fun to read. And
kind of like gothic setting in a way because like witches and everything like that. It's very good for this time of year if you haven't read it yet, actually.
Well, that's true. that's a good rec.
Kind of was surprised by that one. What is your next one?
Yeah, my next one's kind of a random one too. I don't really talk about this book a lot because I don't think about it a lot, to be honest. But going through Goodreads, I found it. The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This is the same author who wrote The Silent Patient, which is definitely his most popular book. But I gave this a 4-star, and on Goodreads, this is a 3.36, which I think is maybe the lowest one that we have on our list to talk about today.
I think so.
Really surprising to me. So I did read this a couple of years ago as well, so I don't remember specific details, but this one, we follow a reclusive ex-movie star, and she has this group of really famous friends, and they all hang out together. They decide to go on a spontaneous trip to a private Greek island, but someone gets murdered on the island. This is a thriller, by the way, if you didn't know already. So yeah, that's our story. You know, we're like, you know, it's like, who did it? And what a lot of people didn't like about this one was, one, people didn't like the narrating style. It was very meta. So it was kind of like, if I were to compare it to something else, I don't know, it'd be like kind of like Hoyd, but
yeah, okay, yeah.
Like just acknowledging that there's a narrator and the narrator's telling you a story. Like there would be parts in the book where I remember you were like sitting in a bar and then the narrator would like sit on a stool beside you and be like, okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. Like, by the way, remember this scarf. It's an important detail or something like that. Like, I don't know if that actually happened, but like kind of that style, which I thought was a fun way to tell a thriller, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed that narrating style. I thought it was quirky and different and unique, and I didn't have a problem with it. I don't seek out narrating styles like that, but I didn't mind it in this book. And then other things that people didn't like is they just thought this was overall boring, and also the twist at the end wasn't surprising. I will have to agree that the twist wasn't very surprising, and I think especially after, like, if people read The Silent Patient, I predicted that twist, but I think a lot of people didn't. Maybe people, were just expecting a bigger twist, but for me, this book was predictable in where it was going, but the thrilling part and the suspense part was how we were getting there and when like this murder would happen, kind of like it just kept me on the edge of my seat because I was like, I know this is gonna happen, but I don't know when it's gonna happen, and you just kept reading, and that was where like the excitement was for me. So I didn't think it was boring. I also I read this a while ago, so I don't know if I reread it if I would hate it now, but I enjoyed it when I read it.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard much about this one. Obviously, I read The Silent Patient. And did he also write that other one where it's like a statue on the cover?
Yeah, it's like The Maidens or something.
Yeah, that one. I've heard of that one as well, but I don't think I'd heard of this book. I don't mind that kind of narration style, to be honest. Like, I kind of like when it's an unusual type of narrator. It adds something to the story, I feel like. So I'm not usually picky. I feel like I'm usually more picky with our characters than I am with the narration style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if there was some really unlikable characters, that would really annoy me a lot more.
I will say they were probably every character in this book was unlikable because the whole thing was like, oh, we're following these really famous people and they're like uptight and rich and they have this private Greek island. So there are definitely unlikable things about the characters, but it's also a thriller. So you don't really have to love everyone, you know?
And I also love that setting of like a whodunit, like especially when it's a confined space and you're like, you only have these suspects. I do love like Knives Out vibes. I love those kind of settings. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard of it at all though.
I know. And like, I don't really talk about it at all either. So I mean, I guess not
that
a lot
may
of
be
people
why.
talk about it in general. Yeah, that's why. I'm your only source of
literally at
reviews.
This point. I feel like in every video I do these days, I'm like, so Jamie recommended me this one, so it made me more intrigued.
I do the same thing. Like I'll be vlogging and be like, well, Freya said this. I'll be like,
and at this point I just assume that everyone knows who you are. Like I just, when I'm editing, I'm like, oh, should I have said like Jamie, who's like podcast bestie, and also she has her own YouTube, like should I be doing like a little introduction? I just kind of say your name now and expect people to know, so hopefully they do. All right. My next one is a bit of change of tone, and I feel like this one's quite funny. But this is The Striker by Anna Huang. I think I talked about this in last episode. So the rating on this isn't that crazy. I think I rated it like a 4.25, and Goodreads was a 3.8. This comes from more the comments and reactions I get from when I say that I like this book. Because I have seen so many people be super disappointed in this book. And it's quite funny because a lot of those people were massive Anna Huang fans, and then they read this one and didn't love it. Whereas this is the only Anna Huang book I've read that I've actually enjoyed. So I feel like I'm the opposite. And basically this is, so not Jamie's type of book because it's a sports romance.
Smelly people.
We are following a Premier League football player called Asha and a ballerina called Scarlett. And she kind of has this connection to the football team or soccer team that Asha plays for. And she basically ends up having to train him over the summer. So it's a kind of forced proximity type situation. But to be honest, I really liked that chemistry. I don't know why, but I just thought they were quite wholesome and they really like understood each other. And the way, I think I mentioned earlier, like Scarlett has a chronic illness, and the way that Asha like approached that was really, really good. So I just liked them as characters together. But from what I've heard, a lot of people say that like super, super long. And I do agree. I think it's like 500, 600 pages and it's a standalone romance. Like it's a lengthy romance. And I do think easily 100 or so pages could have been cut from that. So I agree on that part. I get it. And then other people just saying that they don't like their chemistry, which is interesting because I feel like that's the main reason I haven't liked other Anna Huang books. Like in the Twisted series, I could feel absolutely no chemistry between those characters. I was struggling with them. So it's kind of interesting that I thought these guys were best, and apparently a lot of Anna Huang fans did not.
Yeah, chemistry I think is a very personal thing because a lot of people can just say that like, oh, there was no chemistry, but when you think of why there was no chemistry, it's like harder to talk about. I think it's just like you felt it or you didn't.
Yeah, and I think it also like if you relate to the to the characters, that also helps. And I also just hadn't read like a Premier League romance before. I feel like I'd only read basketball or hockey.
Yeah, maybe it's like also like the first time you read something that's more like likely to be your favorite one because it's the first time you're experiencing that, and then everything else you'll compare to that one. So maybe I don't know, maybe there's some of that happening too. I don't know. I haven't read this one, so I have nothing to contribute.
Look, I wouldn't rush to read it knowing you. I don't think you'd be like, oh my gosh. But, I always recommend it for people who want like an easy, fun kind of sports romance. I read this in the summer, I think, as well. And, it's really good vibes for the summer. So it's also funny because I feel like a lot of Anna Huang's books, they're always like billionaire. Like the main guy is always some sort of, and I was about to say, oh, and this one isn't a billionaire romance. And then I was like, wait, he's a Premier League player. Of course he's
got money.
I was like, it's not even that different. But yeah, anyway.
Okay, so my next one is The Ministry of Time by Kaylee Bradley. This one was so surprising to me because I know The Ministry of Time was also the winner of one of those Goodreads Choice Awards at the end of the year. I think they won, or at least were nominated for multiple categories, like sci-fi plus debut plus, I don't know, something else. But my rating for this one was a 5-star. I absolutely adored this. And the Goodreads rating is 3.58, which is not high. But I honestly can see why people would dislike this. And I even said it in the reading vlog where I read it. I was like, I really love this, but I already know that not everyone is going to love this. But this one, if you have not heard of it, is a sci-fi, although I would call it more like a literary fiction with a sci-fi backdrop, kind of, because we follow our protagonist, who is unnamed on purpose, and she gets a job at this very mysterious department in the ministry that has to do with time travel. So they're basically doing this project where they bring people back from the past to see if they can settle into life today, see if they can sort of acclimate to current day. So our protagonist's job is to kind of babysit, just watch over and live with the expat from the past. His name is Graham Gore. He's from 1847, and just help him as he adjusts to life in current day. So I thought this was good. I don't know. I really loved it, but people didn't like the writing. A lot of people said the writing was too elaborate in this one, which like I can't relate because I love me some flowery writing, so can't relate to that one. But that's why I was like, even as I was reading it, I was like, I can see people not liking this writing style. But I liked the writing style. Some people thought it was boring, which I didn't think it was boring, but maybe it's like if you go into it expecting a sci-fi, like if you're expecting our main character to do a lot of time travel and stuff, then you would probably think it's boring, because it is kind of more a literary fiction where it's more about just like the person acclimating to today and adjusting to society and learning what we've learned over the past hundreds of years and stuff like that. And then there were some comments saying this was a self-insert fanfic because Graham Gore, the expat in the story, is actually a real person in history. And I remember when I was reading this book, I did feel a little bit uncomfortable about that too, knowing that he was a real person, because I looked him up, because in the book as I was reading it, I was like, there's a lot of historical facts about this guy. Are these real historical facts? And I looked it up, and he is actually a real person who died in 1847. So I guess there's kind of this middle like gray zone of Kellyanne Bradley, the author, writing this book, like fictional book based on a real person who is not alive today. It did make me feel uncomfortable at points, but also I was like, you know what? I like the story. It's good anyways.
That is so funny. I had no idea that he was a real person.
Yeah. No, he's a real guy. He went on this expedition, like, and that's all in the book.
So funny.
Yeah, but like in real life, he died on this expedition, but in the book, he just got brought into the future.
I've had a lot of like differing opinions about this one as well, to be honest. But last year, like at the end of last year with all the book awards, whenever I would go into a bookshop and it was like, you know, top 10 books of the year, or like even rated by staff, whatever it was, I swear Ministry of Time was always on that list. So yeah, I was kind of surprised to see how low like the average rating was. Like I know lots of people don't love it as much as some, but yeah, I feel like that's quite a low rating.
Yeah, you'd think more people would have rated it higher because it won all of these awards. Like, especially Goodreads awards, which are popularity awards, essentially. Like, you would think that the rating would be a bit higher. But I guess more people disliked it, but enough people liked it to vote for it.
It's a lot of reads.
Yeah, I would be curious to see you read this one, though, because it, like, I honestly don't even know if you would like it either.
Yeah, and that is like purely the reason I've stayed away from it, because I mean, first of all, it's like a sci-fi setting, which obviously I never really gravitate towards. But yeah, whenever somebody's talked about it, I've never been intrigued by it, I feel like is the best way to put it. I've never been, you know, like, oh, I should add this to my TBR straight away because it sounds like something I'll like. It just doesn't really like tick a lot of my boxes. So I've never jumped to it, I guess.
Yeah, like it definitely, like to me, it feels more like a fiction with, like there's a bit of a sci-fi part in the last bit of the book, but it's very, very brief. And I don't want to say anything. I don't want to spoil anything. But
all right. My next one, when we were talking about reading like negative reviews, this is what I was talking about. So I didn't think about this, but then I saw it on my shelf, and it's Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, and I was like, I've seen one or two like varying opinions. I'm gonna look this up. So I rated this a 4.5. I loved this book. To be honest, I just love Cassandra Clare, so maybe a little bit biased, but the Goodreads rating was 3.8, and then I started reading through the comments, and it made like all the reviews, and it made me so sad. So if you don't know what Swordcatcher is about, it is a separate world from Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters. It's a completely new adult fantasy world, and we are following Kel, who is basically the body double for the prince of the kind of royal kingdom in this world. And then we are also following Lynn, who is like a healer slash thief slash just like, she's very lower class, and she's basically just trying to get by and help as many people as she can. I really like this. I was really pleasantly surprised on the like tone shift between the Shadowhunters world, which is a very YA romantasy world, to this, which felt like a very well-established political high fantasy. So I was really pleasantly surprised, but there was one specific comment that I like put in to our little notes, and somebody was like, absolutely nothing happened that wasn't on the blurb. And so many people had said variations of that and was like, this is my biggest disappointment of the year. Absolutely nothing happened. And I am genuinely so confused because I thought so much happened. Like, it was very much a foundation book, and I like, you know, it was setting up the world because it was a whole new world. But I was quite surprised to see the amount of like disappointing reviews there was. Lots of people saying it like dragged out. Yeah.
That's very specific though. People specifically pointing out the stuff in the blurb that didn't happen in the book. Was like, what is in the blurb? What didn't happen?
It was like, I don't know. Nothing happened that wasn't on the blurb. So like the blurb like outlined,
Okay.
So the
comprehension.
Yes, the blurb like obviously gave a summary of like the story, and everyone was like, nothing else happened.
Okay. Got you.
I thought more stuff happened, but you know, I don't know. Maybe
well, it's also like even if nothing else happened, it's also like the way it happened is very important.
And like,
which can be
yes,
enjoyable.
you know your names of your characters, but you don't know your characters. Like we learned so much about all of our characters, and they're kind of, I feel like our characters had a lot of depth to them. Like they all had their personal problems that they were going through, not just our two main protagonists, but also like the prince that Kel was protecting and everything like that. Yeah, I was just kind of surprised, maybe because people go in, they see Cassandra Clare, they're expecting more of a fast-paced fantasy romance. I don't know. Some people I've heard have read it thinking it is part of her other universe because it's, you know, it's the first book that's not in that universe. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just really surprised by the amount of like negative reviews on this one. I wasn't expecting it.
Wow. I'll have to pick it up one day.
I think you'll like it, to be honest.
I have a feeling I will like her books, but I just have not done it yet. I've not picked one up yet.
It's a bit of a commitment. Well, you're in the middle of a Brandon Sanderson journey at the moment, so maybe when you need a break from that,
it's like one universe before the other, like especially with these massive universes. Okay, so my next one is kind of heartbreaking because this is my personality book, like the book that has been branded to my identity. A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang. Yes, I'm going to talk about it again. I don't care if you've already heard me talk about this a million times. I will continue to talk about this book until it has, first of all, more Goodreads ratings, and second of all, a higher Goodreads rating, because I rated this a 5-star. It's one of those 6-star books. I don't give books 6 stars, but if I did, this would be one of them. And the Goodreads rating is 3.86, which is not that low, but like it deserves to be so much higher. And I'm also so shocked at this because every single person that I have recommended this to has given it somewhere between a 4 to 5 star, has absolutely loved it. So I'm like, if everyone I know loves this book, who hates this book? Who are these people rating it low? I don't understand, because everyone always messages me like, this was so good, this was so good. Never heard a bad comment personally. But to talk about what this book is about, if you haven't heard me talk about it, this is based on Chinese mythology. So it's classified as a historical fantasy romance, but I would say this is more of a historical romance with just like a splash of fantasy. It's very, very, very little fantasy. But we follow Zixi. She is one of the 4 beauties of ancient China. And we also have Fan Li, who is this military advisor who meets her and decides to recruit her to use her beauty as a weapon to infiltrate the enemy kingdom. So she accepts, she goes to the enemy kingdom to seduce the king and to take them out from within. So, like, come on, that's an amazing story. It's
a great premise.
So good. What people didn't like about this is there was a lack of fantasy, which I do agree with, but I'm not going to hold that against the book. If you go in expecting not a lot of magic, or like no magic at all really, but more of a historical, mythological type of a story, you will love it. People also said there was a rushed romance, which I don't know if I agree with, because it was one of those instant likes, I would say, but then they get separated and then you get all this yearning. And so to me, I don't call that rushed, because they're not even together. Like they're separated. How can you call that rushed? Like nothing's even happening. So for me, it was peak yearning. And also for everyone else I have recommended this book to, like what people have said to me the most is that the yearning in this book is like top, like perfect, the best yearning you have ever read.
Okay.
So,
and that's hard to do. Like a good yearning is hard to do, and really rare these days.
No, but you know, like when we were talking about like the brushing of the fingers and stuff?
Yeah.
In this book, forbidden love, yearning. I'm just trying to hype this book up again.
Yeah.
Some other things that people didn't like were that each scene was too dramatic, which I'm like, how is that a bad thing? I love the drama. Like, give me more. This is also not a very long book, so you kind of want something dramatic to happen in every scene because you want to keep the story going. So yeah, I don't know. I love this book. Everyone I know, every single person I know who's read this has loved it. And that's a lot of people, because I've made like half of my in-person book club read this book at this point, and everyone's, you know, been obsessed with it. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand the haters. But we need more people to read this book, I think, because it doesn't have a lot of ratings on Goodreads. So we need more people to like get in on it, rate it high, so we can like
get it up
average
there.
it out, you know, more accurately,
Because
I think.
I mean, like when I went book shopping, I was like very much trying to look for this book because I wanted to read it, obviously, and I found it really hard to find. Like lots of bookstores around here just don't stock it, and I reckon, I mean, if more people read it, they probably would. So
Yeah, no, we need everyone go out, buy this book right now and read it and report back, please. Thank you. Including you, Freya.
Yeah, I know. I'm part of that, guys. I'm right there with you.
You can't hide. I'm looking at you.
All right. The next and last book we're going to talk about today is actually one that we both put on here, and that is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the second book and the last in the duology to Divine Rivals. We're basically set in a very like war-torn world, and it's funny because like this duology is very much like almost a historical like a historical fiction, but like with magical realism again. So talking about like, it's not, you know, fantasy isn't like the main drive of the plot, I guess I would say. So, you know, it's going back to the first one because we're not going to talk about the second one, obviously. Rivals romance, where the story begins basically when they start to connect through magical typewriters, and it's just one of like my favorite romances I've ever read about, to be honest. Iris and Ronan are just a match made in heaven. Like I've always said this, if soulmates exist, they are like the definition of soulmates. And I was really hyped up about this release. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say, Jamie's rating was a 5 stars. I think I rated it a 4.75 stars, so very close. And Goodreads is a 3.99. So again, not really that low, but considering the amount of love the first book got, I feel like a lot of people were quite disappointed or let down by the second one.
There was like a lot of talk about this one, I think, especially where people were disappointed and they were like, sequels that disappointed me this year, like stuff like that. Yeah. And I don't know, I didn't feel it because I actually, unpopular opinion, I actually liked this one more than Divine Rivals when I read it.
I think I rated them both the same, and to me they make like the perfect duology. Like, yeah, I wouldn't change a thing about them, to be honest, the pacing wise. And you know, a lot of people, like, I've seen the same thing, have said that there's not a lot of world building or not a lot of like fancy elements, but I think reading Divine Rivals and knowing that, I didn't really go into Ruthless Vows expecting much more world building. You know, I was expecting
Yeah.
a little bit more action because of the scenario that we're like going into, but yeah, I wasn't expecting a lot of like fantasy elements or like, yeah, I feel like it would be more random if suddenly there was like all this intense world building and, you know, fantastical elements emerged. Like that would be weird in a duology that's so short.
Yeah, I remember reading it and being surprised at how much magic there was in it because, again, like I did not expect any magic in this whatsoever, like a similar amount, I guess, that we had in Divine Rivals. But then we did get, not a lot, but we did get a significant like amount more in Ruthless Vows.
Yeah.
So I remember reading it and being like, wow, there's a lot of magic in this book.
And
then everyone
emotionally
else
as
was
well.
like, there's no magic in this. So I'm like, well, compared to the first one, there was a lot.
Yeah. And emotionally as well, this book like connected. Oh my God, the characters. I was bawling my eyes out towards the end of this book. And it takes a lot for me to like actually cry. Like I feel like I tear up in books pretty quickly, but to like actually be crying over a book, it does take quite a lot. And I think it was purely because I loved our characters so much. Like I was so connected to our characters.
For me, it was like the parallels between Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. It was like they kind of swapped situations, like swapped roles in their little partnership relationship. And I just thought that was so well done. Like, again, the perfect way to do a duology where you have one dynamic in one book and then in the next book, it's like complete 180 and it's complete opposite. And you see them going through something that's, just like so different. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it as well. I don't really understand. I feel like, I just don't really understand the dislike towards it, to be honest. That's one that I just can't get behind. Like some of the other books we've talked about, I'm like, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I can't with this one.
I can't with this one either. I truly don't understand. I don't get it.
All right, that was a good note to end on. Sorry. Highly always recommend. And speaking of that, go read Wild Reverence right now if you if you like the Divine Rival astrology, please.
Oh my goodness, please read it. I also have not heard a bad thing about Wild Reverence. So
I haven't seen one person I think the lowest rating I've seen so far is a 4.25. Like I haven't seen somebody rate it below that. That's saying a lot.
Which is so good, yeah. That was a fun list to go through. If there are any books in this list that you guys, I don't know, disagree with us or either disagree with the rest of the world on, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm always curious to hear about books that like a majority of people don't enjoy.
Yeah, let us know everything in the comments below. Love chit-chatting with you guys. But if you are still here listening to the end, thank you for listening wherever you are in the world or whatever time zone you're in.
Until next time, stay comfy and keep reading.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on socials for more bookish content.
See you next time. Bye.